for all their awesome tips and advice. For more Five Nights at Freddy's goodness, give Matt's video right here a click, and check out Nate's brand new song in it right here too. Now back to us.
That's all the time we've got for today, guys. So please, as always, let us know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. A big thank you to these two awesome gentlemen, Matt, Pat, and Nate from Nate Wants to Battle. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
It's
a pleasure.
It's been a long night of filming and recording.
A very canon situation this has turned into.
There are so many things that they didn't get to see in the creation of this
so
episode.
many horrible things.
So many strange and wonderful things. Strange.
Now,
mostly strange.
Mostly wonderful.
Now, if you excuse me,
Depends on who you ask, I guess.
Oh, it was good for me.
You bet it was.
yeah, Andy, cover the shot.
So anyway,
He's here too.
yeah, what are you
Hey,
doing?
hey,
Hey.
Thank you for being in the video.
Thank you for being a friend.
No,
Yeah.
Thank you
thank
for
you.
like Golden Girls.
And
I do my best.
And thank you, Scott, for the game. Oh, that was gonna be okay.
It was gonna be almost friendly. Almost
it was friendly, but everyone on the internet's gonna take it out of context and just
Yeah.
like.
Thank you for being a friend. Golden Girls, brought to you by CBS.
Oh, they're all dead.
Oh,
Except for one.
No, I was gonna say one was still alive.
alive.
How dare you?
I'm
How
sorry,
dare
I'm
you say
sorry.
Betsy White is dead?
Oh, yeah, Betsy White is the only
Betsy
one.
White is
dead.
going strong, my friend.
Betsy White, I'm so sorry.
Snickers. Don't be a diva, have a Snickers.
That's okay. I was never.
Right?
You were.
Celebrity
you were the
password. Hot in
Hi.
Cleveveland. Hot in Cleveveland, Gerard. How could you forget Hot in
I
Cleveland?
haven't seen her in years.
Celebrity password. Community.
Community, I've seen.
Okay, good.
Six-
Community is great, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Although most of the things were just going.
What are we
others.
doing?
This is Mark's gonna cut this in a random.
Going to flow that well with you.
And while you're at it, check out my theory videos on the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. Didn't you reference my videos in your last two?
Yeah, how's that for free promotion?
All right. I forgive you for the shirt thing.
While Five Nights 2 ended up being a prequel to the original, Five Nights 3 decided to head to the opposite extreme and enter the series as a sequel set 30 years after the events of the first game. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the horrible unsolved murders that took place have now been passed into an urban legend, and an unknown group is looking to cash in on that story by opening Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. Your character enters the equation as, you guessed it, the security guard at this soon-to-be open location. The presumed owner calls you on the first night and fills you in on how everything is going with preparations for launch, including news on recent findings of relics from the Freddy Fazbear locations. He talks about a lead he has from someone claiming to have designed one of the Freddy Fazbear buildings, and that he's on the way to check it out right now to try and find more stuff for the attraction.
After that, you're brought up to speed on your duties as security guard, checking cameras and vents, you know, the usual stuff. You're also told to use your maintenance panel to keep your cameras, audio, and ventilation systems up and running, because there's a serious issue with all the old tech they used to make the building, and if you don't keep those vents going, you'll start hallucinating. Oh, and also the place might burn down. So, yeah, there's that. It's not until night 2, though, that things get really interesting. On the previous night, the so-called phone dude apparently had some successful findings, and he tells you he found some very old training tapes for new employees, and, more importantly, a real one.
Gotta go, man. Well, look, it's in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it.
He cuts the call short and plays you one of the tapes, but now you know that things just got real. You are sharing the building with a real-life Freddy Fazbear animatronic.
Every night from then on, you hear another part of the training tape, which tells you about the new hybrid animatronic suit that can be adjusted to allow humans inside of them by cranking open the springs on the back. You also learn that these new suits aren't exactly the safest, and the tape goes as far as saying, don't breathe on the spring locks, because moisture from your breath can cause the locks to come loose and, well, ugh. At the end of the night, you get to play another Atari-style minigame just like the random death minigames from Five Nights 2. These ones are definitely a lot easier to understand this time around, but they hold a ton of deep and convoluted secrets that we'll touch on later on.
Wait, so, there's only one animatronic, and it's not even called Freddy? In the first game, we had 5 animatronics. The second one had at least, 10, 12? But Five Nights 3, we get 1? Okay, budget cuts. That doesn't seem to... Jesus! All right, family-friendly show, no swearing. Whew. Five Nights 3 is on another level with the visuals and audio. The cameras are all decrepit and insanely staticky. All of the hallways of Fazbear's Fright are filled with stuff that looks like it's trying to kill you. Pieces of old animatronics like heads and bodies are propped up to look all spooky and end up making checking the cameras stressful because everything looks like it's the thing you should be looking for.
The audio plays a big role in these games, and there are a lot of pros and just a few cons to the third game's new audio tracks. The voice work is still done solely by the game's creator, Scott Cawthon, portraying both the phone dude and also the guy from the Fazbear training tapes. The creepy ambient sounds from the second game to warn you about the approaching animatronics do make a comeback, though this time they're a little more toned back. And honestly, it works pretty well for a more subtle experience.
Now, if there's one thing these games are known for, it's the jump scares, and I gotta say, it's all over the place in the third installment. Your main enemy is the animatronic Springtrap, and after the first few times dying to him, the scare factor wears off pretty quickly. On the bright side, though, the audio cue is far more reserved than the past couple of games, making this one much easier on the ears, while still being loud enough to cause a jump. On the other hand, Springtrap just kinda slinks forward towards you. I mean, look at this. He's not even that close. After getting used to the in-your-face jump scares from the other 2 games, this one just seems incredibly tame by comparison.
Nesquik makes fun milkshakes.
But let's take it to the other extreme real quick. The animatronics from the previous games do make an appearance as hallucinations in Five Nights 3, and they're nothing short of heart attack material. From the haunting face of Balloon Boy plastered across your screen to the ears bleeding wail of the Mangle watching you from the outside window. If there's anything that's going to make you leap out of your seat in this one, it's these guys.
Aside from that, the game is very quiet overall, which makes every sound effect that much more biting and unsettling. When any of your systems go offline, the sitting and the waiting and the reboot noise are just so aggravating. It feels like it's going on for days. Little quiet things too feel loud and make you panic because you're stuck, unable to do anything while these just tick away trying to reboot. It's a very well-crafted horror atmosphere. This, combined with the sickly green color that everything seems to be covered in, makes the spookiness pretty real. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 brings the horror vibes with a vengeance.
So let's get right into it. Like previous titles, this game has you checking cameras and making sure that your animatronic enemy doesn't reach the security room, because that spells the end for you. The real difference here is that unlike Five Nights 1 and 2, the third game manages to make using the camera system absolutely necessary. Originally, the camera was useful on Nights 1 and 2, maybe 3, but became almost useless on the super hard nights later on. This time around, there's no magic set of motions that make everything go automatically well. You've got to find Springtrap on the cameras and use the Balloon Boy sound cues to lead him around to keep him from moving towards you.
Hello?
There are 2 layers of the map, one of them being the hallways and the other being the ventilation system. You can seal shut one vent at a time, which is helpful for keeping Springtrap from skipping the whole damn place and getting straight into the security room. I'm looking at you, Camera 10. You know what you did. Or didn't do.
Now, what keeps you in check from just spamming the audio is that your systems will go out after excessive use, or just over time. When your audio is off, you can't halt Springtrap or lead him away. When the video shuts down, you can't see where he is, and using audio will just leave you completely blind. And when the vents turn off, you'll start hallucinating and seeing the past game's animatronics haunting the building. Most of these are triggered in specific rooms on the video feed, and when you see them in the room, it's a standard reaction to take the camera down and see if something's wrong. Doing this, though, just means that they're getting a free, loud as all get out jump scare right at your face, and depending on which one it is, they're automatically gonna shut down some of your systems.
The proper way of dealing with this is simply to change to another camera before putting the monitor away, but that's easier said than done when you're frantically looking for Springtrap and making sure he isn't already right on top of you. And really, that's all there is to it. Granted, most of the fun in this game is trial and error and figuring out just how to do all this on your own, so an explanation like this doesn't really do a blind playthrough justice. A big change to the cameras that makes the game harder in general is how slowly they transition. They used to be really quick with little to no crossfade, but now you have to wait a second or two to make sure the static clears, and you've got to get a good look of the room before switching again. Coupled with Springtrap's tendency to stay very well hidden, and you've got a rough combination on your hands. You'll need to try your best to really look for Springtrap, and just when you think you found him...
Now, there's no challenge modes like in the second game, and there's actually not even a Night 7. Instead, Night 6 is referred to as Nightmare mode, and is considerably harder than the previous nights. Your audio fails after 2 uses, and Springtrap moves pretty quickly. All in all, I'd say it's not as hard as the dreaded 2020-2020 modes, but it provides a good challenge. Like we said previously, this one is much less about getting a rhythm of certain actions going and more about quick thinking and prioritizing. Keeping your systems up can sometimes mean sacrificing one for a bit to ensure that you have a more important one staying up. Usually video takes the bottom priority for 2 reasons. 1, the ventilation can cause your vision to black out and Springtrap can attack you during those moments. And 2, the audio is your only tool to move Springtrap from one room to another.
This means you'll need to know the path that Springtrap takes through the building, as well as timing to make sure you don't lose track of him. It gets pretty rough, but it lends to a more skill-based and strategic gameplay than ever before. Also, it's stressful as balls. The main gameplay aspect are the secret mini-games that take place in between each night, and they require certain tasks for you to do. But since those are kind of a spoiler to the story, let's head right into the next one. God! Oh, God! Really? Another jump scare? Ah! So you've passed through all of the nights leading up to this, and you've played every minigame so far. The minigames have you playing as what appears to be as Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, and regular Foxy in a location that doesn't quite line up with either layout of the restaurants from Five Nights 1 or 2. A Shadow Freddy figure floats away, telling you to follow him, and he leads you to the back corner of the building near some boarded up rooms.
As soon as you reach the threshold to go into the next room up, you get an error message on your screen, and you can't access the room. As soon as you try and walk away, the infamous purple guy runs out of the room and dismantles you.
The 5th night is pretty brutal. You only get 2 audio usages before it goes offline, and the jump scares seem to be everywhere. There's definitely skill involved in this, but you'll be overwhelmed quite a bit.
In the 5th and final of these games, you instead play as what appears to be a dead child or ghost. No Shadow Freddy shows up this time, but you head on up to the same room either way. Once inside, you find Purple Man and 4 other dead children. He appears to be scared of you and tries to avoid you and run away when you get near.
After a moment, the purple guy runs over to the Spring Bonnie suit on the floor and gets inside. He takes a moment and laughs before the spring locks inside of the suit, presumably covered in moisture from the rain leaking through the ceiling, break loose and kill him. With the purple guy now dead, the ghosts disappear, the screen fades to black and... Wait, what? Bad ending?
You see, there's actually 2 different endings in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. The bad ending is achieved for just playing through the game normally, but the good ending? Well, the good ending is gonna require quite a bit of explanation. So on every single night, there's actually a secret Atari-style minigame that you can find by performing certain actions hinted at the regular minigames. If you head left, then down again in any of these games, you'll come to this room, which will have hints to the actions you need to take in order to enter the secret minigames.
These hints can be pretty vague, so here's how to do each game in detail. Start out on night 2, go to camera 8, and double click on this drawing right here, a Balloon Boy on the left wall. This will trigger Balloon Boy's air adventure. This minigame can be accessed on any night and needs to be played several times in order to unlock the good ending. Start by collecting all 7 balloons in the starting area. Instead of heading to the exit, go to the platform above the exit and jump to the left out of the wall. Note that this only will open up after you have all 7 balloons initially. Fall down, and once you've landed, head to the right past the 3 crying balloon boys and jump into the last part of this room to collect the 8th and final balloon, ending the minigame.
Now you want to head on over to camera 7. This one only works on night 2. On the player 1 buttons for the arcade cabinet, click the top left, bottom right, bottom right, and you'll start up Mangle's quest. Since you already did the 8 balloon ending of the previous game, all you need to do is collect the pieces of Mangle while avoiding this kid. Once all the pieces are collected, head over above the exit and jump out of the wall, just like last time. Fall down and head left once you're near this giant puppet silhouette. Jump up onto the balloon platforms and those will take you to a big cake under a crescent moon. Grab the cake to end the game, and then go back to Balloon Boy's Air Adventure.
Now that you've gotten the cake, you can beat the Balloon Boy game for real. Clip out of the wall once again to the left and fall straight down to some new platform balloons. Simply jump over to the right and you'll find a ghost child standing by himself on a platform. Walk up to him, give him cake, and the minigame ends. Next up is Chica's Party. On night 3, you can find cupcakes with eyes on cameras 2, 3, 4, and 6. Click each of these to enter the Chica's Party minigame. Fall into the gap in the middle of the stage, then head left to find the ghost child. Simply jump up the balloons and give him cake. Alright, now we apologize in advance for this one. This is the one that gets a little more than convoluted, to say the least. Your hint for this game is 395248. On night 4, you need to click on the set of tiles on the wall in between the box of masks and the trash can in the room in front of you. It reads like a phone's dial pad, with the number 1 being the tile slightly covered up by the guitar. Punch in 395248 to start up the Stage 01 minigame.
Let's be real for a second. I will explain this as best I can, and I am so sorry that this is confusing. First, you play as Golden Freddy. Start by walking off the stage towards the children and then turning around in the air to bump into the stage. If you do this correctly, you'll glitch out and slide through the stage until you're out of bounds. Step 1 completed. You'll fall down past 2 other stages and land on the floor. Head right 1 screen and use the right side of this room to boost up on top of it. Once on top, get positioned above Golden Bonnie and jump around until you clip upwards into the room above you. Walk over to the right wall and use it to boost up again and clip back out of the room on top. You still with me? Great. Get into the room above you the same way you did last time, right above Golden Bonnie. In this one, though, use the left wall to shoot up on top of the room. You're now on the very top of the map, so simply walk over to the right and jump off the edge to end up in the Ghost Child secret room and end the minigame. Whew!
Wow.
What? That's it? Just wow. Come on, Beardy, we're not even done yet.
Alright, okay, so the next one isn't quite as complicated. On night 5, click on the Shadow Bonnie figure on the right side of the desk to begin the glitch minigame. By holding W, you can fly, and by bashing S, you can change which room you're in. The rooms will be different rooms from the previous games you've already played. One of the rooms will be mostly purple with a ghost child outside on the left. You can exit the same way you exited the Balloon Boys room. Once outside of the stage, change over to the ghost child room and walk over to him to give him cake and end this minigame.
And lastly, once you've completed the Shadow Bonnie game, click over to camera 3 and double click the picture of the puppet on the right side wall. Walk to the right until you reach a table with 4 masked children standing in front of it and 1 crying. Put the cake on the table and the final minigame is complete. Play your way through night 5 successfully to achieve the good ending, signifying the dead children's souls are finally at peace.
The check mark of stars on the main menu returns as our symbol for completion in this game. Beating the game with the bad ending gets you 1 star, unlocks Nightmare Mode, and a mini option menu labeled Extras. Nightmare Mode acts as the 6th night mode of this game, with the AI being that much more aggressive and scary. Beating this night, which is no easy feat, will get you another star and more extras. And finally, after doing all the minigames I just told you about and beating the game, the combination of achieving the good ending, the bad ending, and nightmare mode puts 3 gold stars on the main menu, meaning you've completed it. The extra menu will be fully accessible when you have all 3 stars. You get to view still images of Springtrap and all the Phantomatronics, and even see their jump scares in action. Hooray! More jump scares!
You also get a cheat menu with 4 options. Fast Nights is pretty self-explanatory, making the time move faster for the main game. Radar will show where Springtrap is on the map at all times, so you never have to go around and look for him. Aggressive will make Springtrap more difficult to deal with, allowing you to in essence create a makeshift Night 7 by turning on Aggressive and then playing Night 6. And finally, No Errors keeps all of your systems online at all times.
Even though these bonuses aren't super great incentives to go all out, the game is so short that you don't really feel ripped off for putting in the effort to unlock everything, especially if you've already completed the other 2 Five Nights at Freddy's games. Five Nights 3 really changed the direction from what we got in Five Nights 2. In the second game, there were tons of challenges for somebody interested in more than just the main story. They were difficult, they were very frustrating, and for the thrill seekers out there, they were a lot of fun.
Five Nights 3 tones it back and goes for more of a horror experience than a horror game. Completing Nightmare mode pales in comparison to 420 mode or the upsetting 1020 challenge from previous games. Not to say that this one isn't rewarding, as the fleshed out story-based minigames and strategy-centric gameplay makes completing it all the more fun.
Now usually, we end our Five Nights reviews with me overcoming the difficultness of these games, with something as hard as 1020 or 420 modes. But there isn't one in this game, and this makes the end game much more easy, and way more manageable considering the circumstances. The fandom of Five Nights 3, however, did come up with their own version of a completionist end. Completing Nightmare mode with the aggressive code on is kind of the challenge, but doing so does nothing if you beat it. All in all, I think I only put about a total of 3 hours into Five Nights at Freddy's 3 once I realized how it all worked. That's not a bad thing, it's just kind of a different thing. And that's a good way to end the series in my opinion. It may not necessarily be completely different or edgy or weird, but it's a nice ending to this trilogy. If there is going to be a 4th, who knows what to expect.
Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is a great conclusion to a trilogy of awesome indie horror games that answers enough questions in the story to be satisfying, yet at the same time raises enough questions to continue the series' mysteriously filled legacy.
With a slightly less aggravating difficulty than its predecessors and a more focused set of game mechanics, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 may be the easiest of the trilogy, but don't knock it out, as that's not necessarily a bad thing. Everything just balances itself out.
So with that in mind, guys, this game gets our completionist rating of Finish It!
Finish it!
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any future completionist goodness. And if you want some more Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, check out our playlist right here on the left. If you want some more game theories involving Five Nights at Freddy's, give this playlist a click on the right here.
That's all the time we've got for today, guys. So please, as always, leave your thoughts somewhere on the internet. Be sure to check out our awesome brand new t-shirts over at theyeti.com/thatonevideogamer. And of course, a big thank you to MatPat for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure having you, man.
And a big thank you to Gerard and his beard, which is just, you can't experience this on the other side of the camera, but it is magnificent to behold in person.
I try.
Magnificent. Now you're braiding it, or like?
Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to braid my beard on camera.
Ooh.
And by braid, I mean I'm just twisting this over and over again and not really.
Here, I can French braid it here.
Oh, this is where it starts. This is where.
Oh, let the shipping
The
begin.
shipping
Let the
starts now.
shipping begin.
You're actually doing a pretty solid job. I
Thank
can
you.
like feel.
Right. Sir, at all?
No, you're good.
Rusty.
There you go, internet. Start writing your fanfics. Yes!
remix music in this episode is provided by the album Determination, available on Bandcamp now. Links are in the description below.
Warning! This entire episode is a spoiler for the pure Undertale experience. Proceed at your own risk, but we prefer if you played Undertale on your own first. Enjoy the show, and relax, bud. It's Friday. You made it.
Alright, this is the Undertale episode, remember?
Yeah, I know.
No mess ups or the internet's gonna come get you, okay?
Right, sure, I know. We're gonna do Undertale, we're gonna do it right, okay? Here we go.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand. What?
Just came at it pretty hard, I thought. You don't want to start them like this. This is the Undertale episode, after all. You gotta be nice.
I know. I got this. I do this every week. This is my job. Hey everyone, and welcome back
Okay,
to the brand
stop.
new- What are you doing? What do I need to tell you to get through to this? Is that a dog? Is that a freaking dog? Alex replaced himself with the dog.
Whoa.
Oh my god!
Whose dog is that?
Get the... Start the review. Start the review. Start it. No? Fine. I'm leaving. Okay.
So, no, I don't want to start
Why
it.
do this?
I
You're gonna
wanna
hate
do
it
it
anyways.
anyways.
You're gonna hate this anyways.
Stop it.
Why do we do
Stop
this video?
it.
Turn the
He's
video
nice
off.
kidding.
No, you're gonna hate
He's
this
so
anyway.
kidding.
Turn it off.
He's
Turn it
so
off.
kidding.
Turn it off.
This guy.
Star
is a
White.
sweetie.
Star White.
He's a sweetie.
From where I'm standing, Undertale is the epitome of a runaway hit. No one, especially not creator Toby Fox, had any idea it would become this universally loved, and the people who hate it will probably never understand why. So, the question is, what is so special about Undertale?
The first thing everybody brings up is its similarity to the 1994 Shigesato Itoi cult classic Earthbound, and interestingly enough, that connection actually does date back to Undertale's inception. The first anyone ever heard of the game was in a post from back in early 2013 in the PK hack forum at starman.net, whoop whoop, where Toby Fox, who was better known as Radiation at the time, was joking about an Earthbound ROM hack he was making called Underbound 2. Or not. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, kids.
Looking to create a game with non-traditional mechanics, which also effectively use video games as a storytelling medium, the next we heard of Undertale was when the demo debuted in May of 2013 on a fan gamer livestream. It was so successful that a public demo followed a few weeks later, and a week or two after that, a modest Kickstarter was launched for $5,000 worth of development funds.
But apparently the internet chose Undertale for greatness pretty early on, since by the time it ended, that Kickstarter hit its goal 10 times over for a grand total of almost 2,400 people, giving a total of $51,000. That is a lot of dollars.
From there, the game took over 2 years to finish, but when it finally came out, it did so to almost universal acclaim. Already, the game has practically been elevated from cult status to mainstream hit, and the dedication of its fan base is so overwhelming that a lot of people on the internet, myself included, are scared to even go near it for fear of being swallowed up by a horde of rabid perfectionists whose understanding and love of the game will always be better than yours. Not to mention, there is a lot of weird fan art, and I mean a lot. Whew.
It's also had what I imagine to be a pretty unfortunate effect on Toby Fox's life by transforming him into a reclusive legend, similar to Scott Cawthon of Five Nights at Freddy's fame, who's not so much being antisocial as he is hiding from thousands of people who are probably looking at his game much more closely than he ever did himself.
On the one hand, I want to be cynical about an overhyped game. It creates millions of people waiting to say it's awesome no matter what awful problems it has. But I'd be an idiot to say that now, because Undertale is actually really clean and really good.
Yeah, and luckily it seems like for the most part people are realizing that. In fact, they might even be over-realizing it. I've seen firsthand the way people in this industry talk about the possibility of even just meeting Toby Fox these days, and it makes me feel for what his inbox must look like every morning.
When we started our blind playthrough on Super Beer Bros a few months ago, we had no idea what was in store, but the game quickly won us over, and I instantly got excited for the episode I was eventually going to get to do. And now that I am, I'm surprised at how hard it was for me to talk about this game in terms of actual completion. I kind of don't even want to go over it now that I have to.
Right? So now, you out there are asking, what kind of game is this anyway? What could possibly stop you from wanting to make a video about a game you absolutely loved? Honestly, I don't know if we'll ever be able to fully express that to you, but we're determined to try. Here's another spoiler warning. We're just about to give away the plot. If this is all too much for you, maybe just go watch some anime.
Undertale's story works from several different angles, but before you can change the whole outcome by making some absolutely sweeping choices, the gist of it is this. A long time ago, there was a war between humans and monsters. The humans won, and the monsters were sealed underground behind an almost unbreakable magic barrier.
The monsters are starting to get used to a human-free lifestyle in their closed-off little kingdom, but in general the land feels sad and twisted, like everyone who lives there is totally depressed and wigged out. Fast forward to the year 20X-teen, and we hear stories of people, possibly even children, climbing to the top of a mysterious Mount Ebott, never to be seen again.
One of these kids is you, the as yet unnamed gender-neutral protagonist who climbs to the top alone only to find a giant hole. After going to get a closer look, you fall in and wake to find yourself among the old ruins, in the underground kingdom of the monsters.
Sounds like the beginning of a classic JRPG so far, right? But from the very first interaction you have with Flowey, a sweet little nihilistic flower who literally tries to kill you for its own amusement, you begin to realize that nothing is as it seems and that Toby Fox was extremely successful at making each monster you encounter feel like an individual with its own motivations and feelings. Plus, the game gives you the option of handling all fights without the use of violence, which has a major effect on the way you interact with the world and story you finally end up being told.
Along the way, you meet a colorful cast of characters like Toriel, the soft-spoken goat mom who knows more than she lets on, Papyrus, the well-intentioned and extremely doofy garden training spaghetti chef, Sans, his brother, the soft-spoken skeleton who knows more than he lets on. I wonder what he's thinking behind that smug little face. Hopefully it's about taking some joke lessons.
Oh, come on! Toriel teaches you how to solve puzzles and survive in the land of monsters as you journey to make your escape, but you eventually realize she's also trying to keep you from leaving her sight, so you don't face the wrath of King Asgore Dreamer. See, Asgore needs 7 human souls to break the barrier and free his people, and he already has 6. And not only is he sending Undyne, the head of his royal guard, after you, but you're heading right into his hands yourself because that's the only way out. Not exactly looking good for you.
Along the way, you also meet Alphys, the anxious royal scientist, and her ratings-crazed robot invention, Metaton. And they, and everyone else you meet, have all these great little nuggets of meaty postmodern dialogue that really adds some weight to all of the silly proceedings.
Because you interact with characters almost exclusively through the battle screen, even when you're talking it out with them and either murdering them or convincing them to let you spare their lives, the mechanics are actually inseparable from the storytelling. Games like Earthbound and BioShock reach levels of this, but only in the last few years have games like Undertale and the Stanley Parable truly taken games as art into the next phase, where not only are people making games about games and how they relate to our lives, but also there's now an audience for them.
Undertale's story is a perfect blend of simple plot and effective use of theming. The story is easy to follow, and the characters wear their motivations on their sleeves, so that Undertale's deeper messages about whether or not traditional JRPG game mechanics are morally correct, or triumphing over your own insecurities in the face of unfairness, shines through all the more clearly.
It's a complete package, and every working part comes together and fills me with determination. Let's take a look at some of those details now.
Ah, determination. I get that reference.
Thanks, bro.
That's a common phrase they use in this game. You'll see determination everywhere.
Main phrases. Get ready.
You feel determined.
Get ready for some phrases.
Now, while this game couldn't be farther from the traditional 16-bit RPG, it doesn't take too many crazy risks when it comes to presentation. Instead, it does exactly what you'd expect, and it does it super duper well.
The sprite work is masterful, funny and endearing, and the individuality of the characters shines through in their dialogue as much as in their simple and weird designs. Look at Naps the Blue, the very socially anxious ghost. Great look, great dialogue, great song, perfect.
And the same goes for the color palette. Seems authentic enough at first glance, sure, but something about the muted tones or the slightly sickly hues tips everything over from odd to memorable and extremely evocative. I will always remember Toriel and her weird purple smock and house, and it's not just because we murdered her in cold blood on accident, sorry.
I'm sorry.
And
instead of reminding me of that awful memory, I'm going to segue into talking about the soundtrack because damn, Toby! You killed it with the song songs, Toby? It's like I'm always humming something to myself and trying to figure out which Final Fantasy it's from, and then it's just always from Undertale, Toby. How did you do that? What is that about?
The point is, the game cuts absolutely no corners. Sure, it came out a little later than it originally said it would on Kickstarter, but does anyone really care when it turns out this good?
Someone always cares, bro.
Really? Instant gratification still wins out over quality most of the time?
Yeah, my dude.
Damn. That's too real, dude.
Right? After all this intellectual discourse, I bet you didn't think the first thing I'd say is that the coolest thing about Undertale's battle system is that it's a fusion between turn-based RPGs like Bravely Default or Dragon Quest and bullet hell shooters like Raiden or Geometry Wars.
A little red heart is tied to the kid's HP, and by moving it around in the small square on the battle screen, you can literally dodge enemy attacks in real time. So addicting and fun. I can't believe nobody thought of this before. I mean, maybe they did. Good job, whoever. Toby or who. It's good. It's good.
Well, wherever the idea came from, Undertale definitely elevates it off the charts by giving every single enemy completely unique attacks that do everything from dynamically changing the size of the box you can move around in to subjecting you to wave after wave of flexing Merhorse bicep.
In general, this game doesn't deviate from the formula too much, except that you can also just decide not to fight anyone if you want. This sentient mold here seems like too good of a guy to take down like that, right? No problem. Just talk to him a little bit and convince him not to fight.
By making every battle a moral choice, it connects your emotions to the mechanics of the game, and then uses them as a gateway drug, causing you to start looking for deeper meaning in places you never considered before, like item descriptions or in the menu.
So earlier I said on our first playthrough we killed the goat mother known as Toriel, right? Regardless of whether or not you reload your game save or not, Undertale remembers stuff like that and does not let you forget it either. And the more you deviate from a straight unbroken playthrough with no breaks, and the more choices you make, the game continues to change slightly until your experience feels significantly real and unique to you.
It's a great example of how a relatively small game can create this illusion of infinite depth with a handful of awesomely written little acknowledgments of your personal impact on the game world. Take note, game designers. Toby.
It also changes the pacing of the game a bit, and even though the game's only a few hours long already and grinding is totally optional, it still feels like it flies by, because it never hits that repetitive stride more hardcore games might.
By the time the kid finally gets to Asgore and the barrier, Alphys has already told the kid that they cannot pass through the barrier with a human soul alone. There has to be a monster soul too, which is why now, no matter whether you've been good or bad this whole time, you have to take Asgore's life. He even destroys the mercy option on screen. And also Toriel is his ex-wife, which means she was once the queen. Crazy.
The fight is a little challenging, sure, but it's not so much difficult as it is sad. And in this version of the story, no matter what happens or who kills him, be it you, Flowey, or himself, Asgore ends up dead. Then Flowey calls everyone an idiot, absorbs all 6 of Asgore's human souls, and then the game crashes. Literally, the game just Alt F4 crashes you.
Load it up again, and something's not quite right. Flowey's replaced your save file with his, and when you load it up and try and get yours back, he destroys it, and the fight with Photoshop Flowey begins.
Maybe it's because he's absorbed all those souls, but Photoshop Flowey looks more realistic than any other character in Undertale. And unlike any other fight in the game, this one ditches RPG mechanics completely for a straight-up bullet hell showdown.
Flowey reveals his own control over the game's save and reload functions by abusing them in real time, killing and resetting the poor kid over and over and generally tripping everybody out.
But eventually he goes down, and then, depending on who you killed or spared, you will get one of between 12 to 25 different endings. Sorry, just
It's okay.
stating it now.
Yeah.
Then the credits roll and boom, you did it. You finally finished your first playthrough of Undertale. Now to do it again like 25 more times.
Hey, work for Resident Evil 2.
Don't worry. You'll be fine. Come on. Let's go.
Don't you even compare these two games.
Kind of though, right?
Whatever, technically maybe. Yes, whatever.
Yeah.
Now I know I kind of breezed past it, but like I said, there's a bunch of different variables having to do with choices the kid makes, and who's dead and who's alive that impact exactly which ending you will get. And as you can see from all this crazy footage, I actually did go back and meticulously record every last variation. But I'm not going to list them all here. Instead, I'll toss a link to the Wikia page in the description and you can check them all out there. The one thing we did not do was hack the game, but if those things become available without hacking, we'll show you how to do that stuff too.
Brave of you, man. Aside from that, there's a few other cool nuggets I don't want to miss before we move on. Firstly, when you find the shopkeepers Caddy and Bratty, you'll discover a weird item they're selling called the Mystery Key. Buying it gets you access to the house right next to Napstablook's, and reading the diaries inside reveals that it used to belong to a more positive ghost named Hapstablook.
Hapstablook wanted to have a body real bad, so one day Alphys showed up to his human fan club meeting and revealed plans for his new invention, implying that Hapstablook is in fact Mettaton, which is a fun extra tidbit that's not definitely necessary, but also really cool.
There's also 2 secret bosses in the game. One is Glide, who's accessible in Snowdin if you walk around near the mysterious door for a few minutes depending on the number of monsters you've killed. He's pretty funny, but I also never had any problem beating him, so don't bother unless you're really curious or you just need the XP.
The other is So Sorry, a weird baby elephant looking art student that appears only if you read the sign in the art club room while your system clock reads October 10th at 8 p.m. in the Hotland. Again, not a super tough fight, but he does have his little doodlebug cronies on the side, so don't underestimate them or you'll die when you shouldn't have. That's it for now. Be warned. That's it for now. Hint, hint. For me, the idea of a game with this many little moving parts and special interactions is extremely stressful, and imagining all of those slightly different playthroughs and all the little recordings I needed to capture definitely made me have a panic attack a little bit. But also, it felt like it was kind of on purpose too, right?
Obviously, Undertale has some sort of big idea it's trying to get across, but keeping everything straight and trying to exhaust every last lead over and over in repetitive playthroughs made me wonder if we were ever going to be able to fully comprehend it as a whole.
And honestly, I'm totally fine with that. Except for an experience that's supposed to be something like an escape, I found myself making a lot of blind choices just to sort of find out what happens. I don't want to spoil anything, so I never looked it up, but let me just say, playing like that isn't very fun, especially when I know I have to somewhat discover every last bit of it.
And eventually, yeah, once we felt we'd gotten the most out of the story, we turned to a guide to help us mop up the rest of the endings, boring as it was.
Still, the pluses from my first playthrough of the game very much outweighed my minuses from the next 25 times, and I can't really knock it. True, it has been a pain in the butt, but I wouldn't say do what I did as much as I would say play around a little bit and just see what fun surprises you might discover. Trust me, you'll have a way better time.
Undertale is a great video game. Is it a masterpiece? Possibly. Is it an untouchable god game with so much girth you can never fully kill it? Certainly some people feel that way. I know it, and I even get it, I think. But in terms of this review, I really gotta say, depends on you.
Yeah, I felt that too, but even after it was all over and I had time to digest everything I'd seen, I still think about Undertale a little bit every day.
The point is, the game is more about the feelings that you have while you're playing it than doing things a certain way. And who am I to tell you what you want from the game?
Yeah!
So, with that in mind, guys, we give this game our completionist rating of Play It.
Yes!
You know, I've got this weird feeling that everybody already knows about Undertale, so let's kind of focus on what Flowey says at the end of the game. Is killing really necessary, huh? Get back to the end without killing a single thing, huh?
Interesting. Last time through, we weren't exactly sure how killing affected the game, but now that we are, the path seems pretty clear. Time to do a pacifist run, baby.
Pacifist? Like what the babies put in there?
What?
Oh, never mind.
Dude, that's a pacifier.
No, never mind. I thought we were talking about
Pacifiers.
Right, yep,
Baby stuff.
yep.
Yeah. Whoa, something weird is going on here, isn't it? Yeah, whatever. Here's another spoiler warning. We're just about to give away more plot. If this is all too much for you, I'll say it again. You might have a better time just watching some anime.
So as you know, a pacifist run implies that nobody dies, which is awesome for storytelling purposes, but it also means that in the case of Undertale, you have to do extra side missions and quests as well. In this case, Papyrus and Undyne survived their boss fight encounters, and now you have to go on a date or a hangout session with them.
Take Papyrus out on a date, and even though he wears a dope outfit and there's plenty of spaghetti to be had, he'll decide you're a little too into him, and he'll leave you with his phone number.
Next, if you're not a murderer, Papyrus encourages you to meet him and Undyne to hang out, and then immediately ditches you to force you to become better friends. If everything works out, you learn a little bit more about what makes Undyne tick, and she'll eventually call you later to help her to deliver a certain letter. But this is not before she tries to kill you. Like, she's hunting you down for a good 15-20 minutes, and then she decides to be your friend. It's a great dichotomy kind of thing.
The letter is for Alphys, and it seems like it might be a love note because once Alphys reads it and mistakenly believes it was the kid who wrote it, she immediately asks you on a date to the garbage dump where she reveals her once important role as a scientist has been reduced to her lying about her interests and sitting around watching anime all the time. Undyne overhears, and they have a tough reconciliation. Tell Undyne whether you think anime is real or not, and boom, you're all set. See you in the final level, bro. Anime is real.
What the hell was that?
Since nobody ever dies in your pacifist run, the idea of talking to everyone instead becomes very appealing. And when you do, this game's absolutely excellent writing totally shines through.
Remember how cute Onion-san was? The dogs who got freaked out by dogs that pet other dogs? Temmies? That one Temmie in the wall? All of it is wonderful and funny and perfect, and it's amazing how vibrant everybody gets when you don't resort to terrible violence.
The graphics and the music are also great, but for whatever reason, I feel like I'm being redundant if I try and explain that to you any more than I already have. So let's get out of this segment. I'm getting bored.
Because you're never fighting, a lot of the mechanics in Undertale become useless on the pacifist run. In fact, pretty much everything in the game besides the healing items becomes totally useless, so you have to focus your attention elsewhere.
Mostly, you have to convince every single character in the game not to fight you. And as the game goes on, it gets really awesome, because every new monster you find is like its own little mini puzzle.
Yeah, a lesser game probably would have just let you hit run away and be done with it, but Undertale manages to completely remove the battle system from its RPG and have the battles remain absolutely compelling, because now instead of their attacks, you're often fighting the monster's depression or their various insecurities.
And as a result of forging a personal connection with these monsters you'd normally just crush under your boot, it feels totally worth it every single time.
Well, except maybe Flowey.
Yeah, Flowey's an asshole, dude.
So after setting Alphys on the brutal path to personal betterment, Papyrus suggests you maybe go check out her true lab, which you can find right underneath her regular lab, and basically, it's just an awesome lore dump. When the monsters realized that only souls could destroy the barrier, Alphys was given the task of finding out how to get a monster's soul to stay alive after the monster dies, just like a human's does.
She discovered her solution in a uniquely human force known as determination, and it worked great. For a while, dead monsters were injected with the determination, and while they would briefly come back to life as normal, their weak monster bodies couldn't keep their form like a human's can, and they melted away in mushy amalgamate chimeras.
Alphys couldn't admit her mistake and never went back to work in the lab again, but not before running some experiments on a golden flower, which was sprinkled with the ashes of Asriel, Asgore and Toriel's recently deceased son, who was killed when he tried to return his dead human friend to their village, and everyone there assumed he had just killed him. But because the flower fused with only a tiny part of his soul, when Alphys treated the seed with determination, he came back to life as Flowey, but no longer had feelings, and instead gained the ability to save and load.
You're actually stuck down in the true lab with no power while you read all this. But once you collect all the keys in that lab, You meet Alphys, and she thanks you for finally giving her the courage to go public with all her weird experiments. It's kind of cute, but it's also extremely sad.
Back in Asgore's chamber, since you've been a pacifist this time, Toriel steps in before you can fight him and stops the bloodshed. Then all your other friends arrive, including all the monsters you've spared, and things are looking pretty good for once.
That is until Flowey shows up, captures everyone, and shows you how powerful he really is. Imagine Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, and how after reliving everything so many times, he's totally mastered it. That's Flowey right now. And then he soaks up everyone's souls and uses it to return to his normal Goatman form.
Everyone lends their power to yours, and eventually you end up taking all your friends' souls back by using all the info you got from getting to know them. Next, you repeatedly refuse to fight back against Azrael, even when he grows into a giant winged demon, until he's reminded of his first human friend from back when he was a kid, and he lets everyone go.
The kid finally reveals to Azrael that their real name is Frisk, and once he walks off, everyone decides it's finally time to go back to the surface. But before you do, you can go back through the entire world map, and every single character now has new dialogue celebrating the new status quo. You can even go back to the very first area where you originally first met Flowey and find Azrael there, who has some nice things to say, but also decides to not rejoin society above ground just yet.
That doesn't stop everyone else though, and the final scenes of the game are the whole crew looking out at the sun for the first time in forever, and you get to decide whether to live with Toriel happily ever after, or go back to the surface and live happily ever after.
Both endings which are super beautiful and happy. What a beautiful story, what a beautiful world, and what a beautiful game. I think it might be the best game ever.
I agree.
Hell yeah!
You know it.
Just before you're all finished out, there's one last challenge in the pacifist ending. As the credits begin to roll up, it then cuts to Azrael, who's demonic as ever, and then jokingly challenges you with the special thanks Kickstarter backer credits. And suddenly, the whole screen turns into one giant dodging game. It's very tough to get down. In fact, when I get to the end of this, you're gonna find out how many times I ended up doing this. But in the end, once you've done it, you'll have unlocked the mysterious door in Snowdin, which houses a couple of dogs and a computer they use to write the game.
It's not the most satisfying bonus ever, but it also feels kind of tied to the Kickstarter stuff, which is already kind of tacked on anyway, and in no way affects our love of the game.
Also, at the end of the game, when you talk to Sans, reset without saving so you can talk to him a couple more times. And eventually, after giving you a secret code for just time travelers, you'll get the key to his room.
Mostly it's just fun Sans stuff, but if you grab the key from his drawer, you get access to another weird workshop room, which seems to hold some secrets to some much deeper lore. But I'll leave that stuff to better qualified theorists.
Also, now that you know the kid's name is Frisk, you wouldn't be a very curious person if you don't try starting a new game with that name. For if you do, you'll end up in hard mode. Now, hard mode is basically just a remix of the Ruins section of the game, with some more to come possibly someday, not really because it seems like a joke.
Of course, when the annoying dog announces the end of the game during the final fight with Toriel, Toriel gets pretty incensed about it, ruining her moment, and the dog is vague about whether more of it is ever going to come. I hope so though, because damn, this game is amazing. I want to know every last thing about it.
Me too. Hashtag Ollies.
Hashtag kickflip.
Hashtag Christ Air.
First off, I want to be clear. This game can basically do no wrong at this point, but if we're talking about challenges we faced, other than the Kickstarter credits, the biggest thing we struggled with is ourselves.
Yeah, see, this game actually uses its mechanics to serve its larger themes. And because Alex and I spent our childhood playing Final Fantasy, Earthbound, and Dragon Quest, the idea of letting a monster live because it's unfair really messed with our instincts. It was hard to stop trying to play every JRPG ever and start playing Undertale.
It was worth it though. What a satisfying ending, and nobody even had to die. Nothing's ever gonna be bad again. What could possibly ever happen?
Quite literally, Undertale has restored my faith in humanity. It's just a lesson we all needed. Finally, everyone can be friends.
Just like us, and like you and your friends, and from all of us to all of you, be nice, okay?
Okay!
In the genocide run, you kill everyone and everyone's afraid of you, except Papyrus, who believes in you no matter what, but you kill him anyway.
Flowey literally begs you to just leave the game as it is, happy and wrapped up, but you just do it anyway. You'd even have to strike down a kid in cold blood if Undyne didn't step in and stop you. And then you kill Undyne too.
You know what's worse than that? You know what's worse than everything? To justify your behavior. They give you this really messed up, perverted serial killer personality, and it legitimately makes you feel awful. Anyways, we'll see how that pans out later. I feel like I've already done this or something. Just go to presentation.
That's a wonderful idea.
I don't even care anymore. Killing people makes the music worse, way worse. Like you start to feel crazy and warped and sick and evil.
Empty towns, empty villages, less friendly menus. The game is less pretty when you're evil, and it gets less and less fun as you go. You literally have to watch your character get excited to murder people over and over and over again, and practically no one ever even stands a chance. It's impressive.
And really, it's the little things that get you. Look at this Hotland sign. Normally it lights up and rolls, but since no one's around because they're fearing for their own safety, it leaves you feeling like you're wandering around Disneyland after the apocalypse. Damn.
Rip Mickey.
Rip Goofy.
Rip Papyrus.
Yo, get that real out of here, dog.
Rip Sora.
Oh my god.
Kingdom Hearts is never coming. The one silver lining to the genocide run is that you finally have some incentive to try out all the weapons. And while that's not much, at least we get to say that Undertale does not skimp on the weapons. Battle is based around timing your button presses with the indicator on the screen, and each weapon has its own sort of pattern. And to fulfill the genocide prophecy, you have to kill everyone. And I mean everyone. Every zone, every character, they all have a number that you have to kill at each save point. You know the area is clear when you've engaged in a battle and literally no one showed up. It's pretty fun stuff, actually, but it's not as fun when you have to kill innocent creatures.
Yeah, the game suggesting that being a decent person is the right thing to do makes you feel much worse about killing everything. It gives you perspective on the generally much more nihilistic, kill everything logic of most video games, and I don't even think I'm being unfair. Mario kills everything. Even the Angry Birds kill everything.
Right, and because of that, Undertale never allows killing to feel fun. It legit makes you feel like a bad person. Check out how much worse it feels when Papyrus sets up a bunch of puzzles for you and you just walk past them because all your character thinks about and cares about is killing, and you know you're about to kill again. And even when you kill Papyrus, he even forgives you and you still kill him in cold blood. Awful. This game is awful. It makes you feel awful.
I feel awful right now.
This feels like I had a burrito and it's tearing apart my insides.
I feel like I tried Kentucky Fried Chicken's Nashville.
Oh my god, that is the worst.
Get me out.
Now, I do want to add that you can, at any time, decide to switch from a pacifist run to a neutral run, or from a genocide run to a neutral run. In fact, that's the main reason why there's so many different endings, because you can just jump out from any point. But with genocide, one could argue there's two different endings, but the results are the same outcome. By the time you arrive at Asgore's house, things are totally messed up. You're rummaging through his house, stealing knives, and thinking in an evil voice, like you'd been there before. Also, Flowey begins to talk with you. He talks about how saving and loading slowly turned him into a killer too, and berates any viewers out there watching this right now that didn't have the guts to do the genocide run themselves.
But when he realizes that you mean to kill him too, he runs away and hides. Then you run into Sans, who's really kind of in that not mad, just disappointed mood. And really, once he reveals himself as a timeline guardian who lives outside of time and save states, he's kind of the real final boss of the game. He's absolutely the hardest fight. It'll probably take you a few hours to get the timing down, and since he remembers every time you die and reload, he gets pretty dang good at roasting you too.
Also, if like us, you started to really feel awful about murdering everyone you love, Sans also has the dirtiest trick of all. About halfway through the fight, he appeals to whatever good there is in you and promises to pretend like this never happened if you hug it out and let bygones be bygones. Except once he hugs you, he instantly kills you and begs you to never reload. Not to mention it says get dunked on the screen. Cool. Hey Sans, you dude. Not that I blame you really, but damn, that's a dirty ass trick, especially in the middle of a really hard boss fight.
Then you move to kill Asgore, but Flowey finishes the job for you in a last-ditch attempt at getting your best graces before losing his nerve and begging for his life in the grossest, most sniveling manner possible. You butcher him until there's literally nothing left. You monster.
But then, there comes the biggest twist of all. What if I told you that the fallen human that you name at the beginning of the game isn't the protagonist at all, but rather the childhood friend of Azrael Dreamer? And what if I told you this character is the in-game representation of you and your will within the game, separate from Frisk, which obviously, judging by all the awful stuff you just did, gives them the power to control other people and use them as mindless killing machines? Canonically, this character is called Chara, but really, it should just have your name on it, because the final reveal is that not only is your own will responsible for all the death, but that it also has a mind of its own, which is why, regardless of whether or not you chose to join forces and permanently erase the world, it finally kills you. There's a jump scare, the game crashes and brings you back to the desktop, and that's it. The game's over. You reload it, and Undertale is just a black screen and howling wind. God damn it.
However, I realize we're not all monsters who want to find out everything that happens no matter the cost, so if Undyne's sacrifice actually does affect you so much that you decide to abandon your genocide run, you can also get the Alphys ending, where Alphys leads all the monsters from Hotland and the core to safety and becomes their ruler, which is great for her because it finally gives her a reason to better herself. But it's not great for us because now we just murdered half the kingdom for no reason, and that's lame.
But then it gets even worse. If you reload the game after you finish your genocide run and watch the Howling Black for about 10 minutes, Chara will appear to you again and offer to reload the world in exchange for your soul, which finally gives you access to the soulless pacifist and genocide runs, which are basically the same as they just were, except that something's just a little bit off about the end, because you're possessed by Chara, and no matter what you do, Chara kills everyone, even in the pacifist ending. And as long as you want to keep playing your same file, it's tainted forever with these perverted versions of the endings. So essentially, this game is anti-completionist. It encourages completionists to stop halfway through and leave the game alone. Because if you in fact complete this game, you will permanently corrupt your save file. Now sure, you can go in and delete System 32 and all that fun stuff, but it's anti-completionist. It's anti-me.
It's true that the genocide run has extra grinding, but that's not all that makes it the toughest playthrough. Undyne and Mettaton both get new forms when you fight him, and while Mettaton Neo is basically a joke, Undyne the Undying is one tough customer, and Sans is probably one of the hardest boss fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it sucks because the whole time I'm struggling to just barely beat these former friends, I feel terrible about it. And look, this basically means that being the completionist actually forced me to be evil, and frankly, I'm starting to resent the idea that anyone, much less the game itself, should ever imply that there's a proper way to play such an open-ended game. Why did I have to go through this, internet? Tell me why. I'm a good dude, but you know what? Screw it. Maybe I really am evil. Maybe I should just delete the whole channel. Mark, flip the goddamn switch.
Alright guys, look, the cycle stops right now. This is what Undertale is for us. In the end, Undertale is a game for us and about us as gamers. We struggle sometimes with those who are different from us. We're afraid of being alive sometimes. Sometimes we can't even make choices for ourselves.
But thankfully, Undertale also offers us some advice. Regardless of who anyone is, always be nice, because true evil blackens your soul forever. And please try your best to find satisfaction in your own unique experiences and life choices, because sometimes wanting to know everything isn't necessarily possible without actually doing something wrong.
Damn.
Right? Getting my pros on.
With 10 to 15 endings, this game will keep you looking forever for answers and answers and answers and answers. Guys, look, Undertale is a game about you and what you think and what you want to think. So make sure that as you play it, you stay true to that idea and let other people stay true to their idea of what Undertale is for them.
Yeah, just think for yourselves. Just think for yourselves.
With that in mind, guys, we give this game our completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!
That's all the time we have for today, guys, and believe me, it was a lot of time put into this freaking episode.
I did not mean to do that.
Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Question of the day, have you played Undertale? And if you have, what does Undertale mean to you? Really, take this time to go on Twitter and thank Toby for, and Temmie and everyone who made this game. This game is really a wonderful piece of art that I think is... It's great.
If you played it already, come back to it in like 5 years. It'll be way good again.
It's good now, and I think it's going to be good then. So thank you guys for watching. Please, if you liked the music you heard today, it was off of the Determination soundtrack by two of my good friends who are YouTubers, Ace Waters, and it's like Richard. It's like I always f it up. Richard. All of the cover music that you heard today was a part of the Determination soundtrack made by Ace Waters and Richard. I ruin that name every time. Richard. Put his name on screen. Guys, if you want to buy that album, I believe it's $13, $10 or $13 on Bandcamp right now. Links in the description below. Support those guys. They were officially endorsed by Toby to make the album. And it's awesome. It's got a lot of great content creators on there too. So go support them, download the album, and thank you today for spending so much time with us.
Now, if you would excuse me, let's check out this picture of this woman who's stamping on grapes and then she falls as she hurts herself. It's a classic video.
No, that's not the point. That's it has to be related to Undertale.
All right, now if you'd excuse me,
excuse us.
Now if you would excuse us. Now if you would excuse us, please check out this cover of the dog song from Undertale done by Something Weird. Mark, fill in the weirdest cover of it that you can find on the weirdest musical instrument. Now...
We're using all of that.
Now if you would excuse me...
You're alone. That's it.
If you would excuse me, I would like you to PayPal me money. Send me money for free. Send it to my Gmail. Why not? Find me. PayPal me free money at the end of this. If you're here, you got $100, send it my way. I'll take it. Now, if you'd excuse me.
All right, stop him. We're done. That's it. That's 30 seconds. Listen.
I don't know about you guys, but I love when companies work together. The collaborative process of two organizations coming together to bring something fun to the table has always been special, enjoyable, and admirable. Whether it's something fascinating like Final Fantasy 15 and Assassin's Creed, or something weird like a CGI penguin movie in the WWE, collabs have always had this neat essence to them. Earlier this year at E3 2017, the world saw Super Mario merge with the Rabbids. Nintendo and Ubisoft coming together. The reveal took the whole internet by storm, especially when the creative director, David Soliani, was shown crying as Miyamoto praised his creativity. He became a meme in that instance even. He even made me tear up, and I was right there in the audience. Needless to say, this collaboration was something no one had asked for, but it's already becoming a project that all of us will remember.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist. I was in the audience when Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle was announced, and the energy in the room was through the roof. I myself, however, was super skeptical at first, but then I played this very well-developed demo at E3 for a few hours, and I was immediately hooked. So, just as a disclaimer, Ubisoft did in fact send me a copy of the game early, #free product, but I couldn't get this game done in time for our video last week because of how large of a game Mario + Rabbids actually ended up being for a completionist. So today, join me as I complete one of the most endearing and enjoyable experiences on the Nintendo Switch. Let's begin.
Yes!
The Nintendo Switch has been out for a few months now, and with the fire of Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2, Sonic Mania, and even Super Mario Odyssey coming out in just a few months, the lineup is unstoppable. And here comes Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which ends up complementing that lineup very well, especially when we consider that Mario + Rabbids is not like any other Mario game we've ever seen. And that's huge, considering that this game was not made by Nintendo, but rather by Ubisoft. The relationship with Ubisoft and Nintendo has been solid in the past, but just like with all third-party developers' interactions with the Wii U, things were rocky for a while. However, when it comes to franchises, Just Dance, Rayman, and the Rabbids have always done well with Nintendo consoles. But when David Soliani got the chance to become the creative director of a Mario game, the pitch for the game was far from comfortable. The biggest stipulation for the game was that it couldn't be a platformer or something that Mario is already known for. The idea for this game, from Miyamoto himself, was that Mario should be going somewhere new and exciting with regards to gameplay. That, combined with the Rabbids, and you've got a bizarre tactical RPG that almost feels like a first-party Nintendo title. What's even more impressive is that these Nintendo and Ubisoft characters are all equipped with guns. I never would have imagined seeing a plumber team up with a crazy rabbit thing holding guns from the Fifth Element as they destroy other beings. Ubisoft worked real hard to make these guns look so different that Nintendo, in the end, was happy with the decision. I am still in awe just thinking about this game and how it somehow came to exist. It's like a genuine goddamn miracle. Not to mention the elephant in the room. Now, this is just my opinion and mine only, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. There's a few groups of characters out there that I cannot stand because of their childish appeal. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved things like Moogles, Chocobos, Goombas, and Jinjos, even the Smurfs. In recent years, we've been exposed to things like the Rabbids and the Minions from Despicable Me, and those side characters have been less than enjoyable. I know I'm not the demographic, but I really dislike the Minions, like really. And the Rabbids have always been hit and miss with me. So here we are with the weird divide. On one side, we've got Mario and his pals, and the other, we got Rabbids that look like Mario characters dealing with more Rabbids. Potentially, this game could be really awesome or really annoying. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is a tactical RPG that no doubt features weapons and a leveling system, which means I'm gonna have to collect all the weapons and max everyone out, no doubt. There's also a co-op mode which is completely separate from the main campaign, and within the main campaign, I'll have to get perfect rankings on every battle thrown my way, and I'm sure a whole lot more. Either way, I am very excited to see what the possibilities are for this game, especially when you consider the magic that can happen when franchises cross over. Super Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time. Kingdom Hearts, for all of its quirkiness, has become a ravenous fan favorite. Hell, Marvel vs. Capcom has always been a top-tier franchise in my mind.
We get it. Play the game.
What? I'm trying to emphasize that collaborations can be healthy.
Yeah, we know. You said it already 5 damn times. Just hurry up.
All right.
Thank you.
You know, Street Fighter Cross Tekken was actually a pretty good time.
Would you just hurry up and...
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle goes from 0 to 60 in terms of plot. At the start of the game, we are shown the room of a young female inventor who remains nameless. This young woman really loves Mario and Nintendo. Dolls, posters, even themed carpet and bedspread. This girl is the Nintendo fandom right here. Named as Inventor of the Year, she and her companion Beepo are convinced that they can change the world with their special visor that combines two things into one. But the visor still has some bugs to work out, and after a failed demonstration, she storms out of the room. Enter the dimension-hopping Rabbids, who all show up in the young woman's room, immediately causing chaos as the Rabbids do. Beepo tries its best to calm everyone down, but fails miserably. One of them puts on the headset, and the headset starts to fuse together some of the Rabbids in the room with various Mario memorabilia. Soon, a massive vortex is created and starts sucking in Beepo, all of the Mario merchandise, and the Rabbids too. Cut to the Mushroom Kingdom, proudly celebrating Princess Peach's accomplishments with yet another statue, when suddenly the vortex that was just created appears over the Mushroom Kingdom. Immediately, all of the Mushroom Kingdom gets sucked in. Characters, pieces of the world, everything just gets yanked into this massive vortex. What's going on? Well, the vortex essentially is a major bug caused by the headset, and it's combining the world of Rabbids with the Mushroom Kingdom into one realm. The Rabbid with the headset then merges with it, being dubbed the name Spawny later on by Bowser Jr. And while Mario is separated from his friends, he arrives in this new kingdom with Beepo, a Rabbid dressed as Peach, and a Rabbid dressed as Luigi. Unfortunately, their introduction to each other is cut short, as enemy Rabbids have fused with various objects already and want to start a ruckus. Beepo insists that in order to return the worlds back to normal, they'll have to find Spawny. And along the way, Mario and the Rabbids not only have to find Mario's friends, but Rabbid versions of Mario's friends as well. If they can find Spawny, they can return everything back to normal. Already out the gate, I love how quickly everything gets established in Mario plus Rabbids. There's not an insanely long plot line here, everything is easily conveyed, and Mario and the team aren't subjected to full voice acting just the way we like them. In fact, no one really talks that much, aside from the young girl. Beepo acts as the main driving force for everything Team Mario Rabbids. Beepo is adorable, not overbearing by any means at all, and is actually very sassy. At times, Beepo even swears. No joke, this little robot thing censors itself as it swears, and it totally works. Kind of funny how that works, huh? Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle looks incredible. Everything feels familiar despite it not directly referencing an actual location from a Mario title, with the exception of Peach's Castle. Soleani and his team made sure that whatever atmosphere you are playing makes you think of Mario, but you aren't necessarily nostalgically reminiscing or upset that they got something wrong. It's all original and it feels way bigger than just Mario and the Rabbids crew. Even the animations feel larger than life. The CG cutscenes alone feel animated as if they came straight from Nintendo. And battling Rabbid Kong makes everything feel so big and fun. Visually, the game runs at a near 1080p docked at a locked 30 FPS. There are a few moments where the game slows down, but it doesn't hinder gameplay at all. The overworld, while somewhat linear, has intricate and large set pieces. Exploration is certainly encouraged, but it's very limited given that you're going up and down hallway type corridors. Within these realms, there are tons of secrets to explore, making the world feel that much more large. And throughout the game, you'll find various Rabbids who are just messing around, and it shows within the writing itself. There's even a cute Red Baron Peanuts reference with a rabbit sleeping on top of a doghouse. Between the writing and the atmospheres, you're getting a massive experience. Speaking of massive, let's talk about the soundtrack done by legendary video game composer and my personal good friend, Grant Kirkhope. Kirkhope had some pretty large shoes to fill here, considering that Koji Kondo had almost always been the musical mastermind behind Mario, making Grant one of the first Western composers out there to work on a Mario game. And with regards to making gaming music this year, Grant Kirkhope is 2 for 2. The Danny Elfman vibes mixed with his previous legacy of rare titles, topped off with Nintendo's history infused into its core, makes the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle soundtracks one of the best video game soundtracks of all time. He paints every little battle and cutscene with a sense of urgency, wonder, and excitement. His rendition of Peach's Castle from Super Mario 64 is perfect. His approach to his pal David Wise's Donkey Kong Country music is remarkable. And the World 3 opera scene may be one of the greatest musical segments of all time.
With great joy in my heart, each time I watch Mario Kart, you're first and doing so well, but you come the Spanish shell.
And what's great is that it's not overbearingly nostalgic. It is in fact new, and in the moments where it goes nostalgic, it does it right. Ladies and gentlemen, the twerk pope Grant Kirkhope somehow made Mario plus Rabbids an even bigger and better game, and we haven't even started talking about how to play the damn game. But as we've learned here on the show, a game can have a compelling story, incredible visuals, and great music, but still suffer from hard to grasp gameplay. And while I love games like XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics, I hope that Ubisoft brought their best for Mario plus Rabbids. Now, usually I would have a new game like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle done by the week of launch, providing that the company sends me the game early, but I ended up having to push back my video for one simple reason. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle for a completionist is a pretty meaty game. But before we get into that, let's talk about how this game works. There are 4 worlds in which Mario and the gang must traverse through. The locales are the Ancient Gardens, the Sherbert Desert, the Spooky Trails, and the Lava Pits. Each of these worlds features atmospheres that are drastically different from one another. Sherbert Desert is half ice, half desert, whereas Spooky Trails is an expansive spooky area that features pumpkin patches, graveyards, and, of course, Nintendo's booze. Amongst these big set pieces are Rabbids. Lots of them. Lots and lots of Rabbids, and we've gotta kill them all! Well, I guess in this case, killing them is a strong word. Vaporize them? Evaporate them. Send them home? Send them home sounds the most safe. Send them all home! The game is split into 2 phases, exploration and tactical combat. Exploring the different lands is pretty straightforward, but in between combat stages, you'll get all different types of opportunities to solve puzzles, challenges, and find secrets. You'll find all kinds of different block puzzles, align the pattern puzzles, things of this nature. There's the familiar 8-coin challenge from your traditional Mario games, the blue coin challenges where you have to solve a puzzle very quickly while getting blue coins, and there's 10 combat challenges that get unlocked once you clear a world. Now, most of these challenges are right in front of you as you play the game. However, Beep-O not only acts as your tutorial guide, but actually has abilities that you can use on the overworld. Things like pushing blocks, destroying set pieces, you get the drift. However, you can only get these abilities at the end of each world. These abilities are designed to help you find those hard to get secret chests. For us completionists, it's a bit of a mandatory task, as when you solve a puzzle or challenge, you'll sometimes be given a chest. These chests oftentimes will include all kinds of collectibles, such as music tracks, 3D models, experience orbs, tarot cards, concept art, and more. But the bread and butter of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is in fact the combat system. If you've played an XCOM, a Tactics Ogre, or a Final Fantasy Tactics game, this will all seem very familiar, although very different. In my opinion, combat is much easier to understand in Kingdom Battle, but as you get better at the game, you'll realize just how deep it all really is. By the end of the game, your entire party will consist of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Rabbid Mario, Rabbid Luigi, Rabbid Peach, and Rabbid Yoshi. And before all you bitches complain that I spoiled the game, they're on the box art, goddammit! All of these characters handle extremely different, so no one character feels the same. Combat involves you controlling 3 characters in any given battle. For the main campaign, no matter what, Mario has to be in your party, similarly to that of Mario RPG. Another ground rule is that you can only have 2 Mushroom Kingdom characters in your party at a time, meaning you can't roll with Mario, Luigi, and Peach. You would need to roll with Mario, Luigi, and a Rabbid variant of a Mushroom Kingdom character. I know that seems really lame at first, but honestly, every single character has so many different benefits that you'll get excited when you swap out characters depending on the battle. This is one of the few games out there where no matter what, you're gonna have to constantly swap your characters in and out. Some battles are just unwinnable with a certain team comp. You will have to move your characters across the battlefield within a grid formation. Each character has a set of different stats that will determine how far a character can walk, jump, and tackle. When it's your turn in the active battle phase, each character can do up to 3 things: attack, move, and or use a special ability. Let's talk attacking. You can attack an enemy with either your primary or secondary weapons. Primary weapons usually consist of some type of gun, while secondary weapons act as a short-range or long-range device such as a grenade, rocket, or sentry. Secondary weapons do have cooldown times but can change the tide of battle depending on the location. You can attack on every turn as long as your enemy is within your attack range. What's simple but clean about Kingdom Battle is that you'll know exactly what your success rates of attack are even before you move your character to get into range. If you attack an enemy with a 0% chance, you won't hit them, obviously, but you'll maybe do damage to the atmosphere that's protecting them. 50% chance is obviously 50-50, and 100 is a guaranteed hit. This is nice because those numbers are the only wavering numbers. There's no weird percentages in between. In most tactical games, this lack of changing attack percentages could be something that holds it back. But with Kingdom Battle, it's all about movement and spatial awareness, and because everyone moves so much, this works quite nicely. With movement, each character can slide into an enemy for a tackle, jump on a friend for a team jump for distance, or simply just move. But each character has special abilities attached to their team jump movement, and knowing their order of how to move them is very important. For example, Mario can jump on enemies, so it's important to try and get Mario to move, tackle an enemy, jump on a friend for a team jump, and land on a different enemy to deliver a bunch of damage all in the same turn. When Yoshi does team jumps, he damages everyone nearby. Peach will heal everyone in her surrounding area. This alone provides tons of different tactical advantages for having certain party members around more than others. Even the Rabbids have some nasty advantages. Mario and Luigi Rabbids have insane tackle abilities that can literally hand you the battle victory in 2 moves or less. And finally, special abilities. Each character has 2 different abilities that you'll be getting to know quite well. Each of the Mushroom Kingdom characters has an insight shot move where if an enemy moves, they'll blast them to all hell. and you can stack these with your various party members. But in order to understand how important these moves are, you have to understand each character. Mario is your well-rounded guy with a normal